There have been many awesome and interesting Star Wars ships that appeared in games, comics, and books that we never get to see on the screen. These non-canon ships are featured heavily and regularly in games especially. Many were first conceived as part of the Legends canon, and some, such as the Interdictor Cruiser, finally made it on screen in series such as Star Wars Rebels. Here are 9 non-canon or Legend ships, in no particular order, that us fanatical Star Wars fans would love to see on the big screen someday. The Chiss Clawcraft. Most fans are now familiar with the enigmatic tactical genius, Grand Admiral Thrawn. His race, the Chiss, are known to have a sophisticated warrior culture, an empire of their own in the unexplored part of the galaxy called the Unknown Regions. The Chiss Clawcraft made its first appearance in the Legends novel Spectre of the Past by Timothy Zahn. It's a hybrid of Imperial and Chiss technology. It was the predominant fighter of the secret Empire of the Hand, which was set up by Thrawn in secret in the Star Wars Legends universe. This distinctive fighter is featured heavily in various Star Wars game mods. I could see this eventually making an appearance in any future on-screen media that features the Chiss or Thrawn. The Starwing XG-1 Assault Gunboat. This heavy fighter first appeared in the X-Wing series of games. It was one of the Empire's only hyperdrive equipped fighters. Look for the full animated presentation of this fighter on my channel. It was designed by Cygnus Spaceworks, the same corporation that designed the Lambda-class Imperial shuttles for the Empire. Starwings were a multi-role, long-range starfighter, packing ion cannons, laser cannons, concussion missiles, and proton torpedoes. They did not need a capital ship to bring them to trouble spots, unlike most other Imperial fighters. The Cloakshape Fighter. The Cloakshape Fighter is the fighter of choice for the galaxy's most wretched scums and villains. Its first appearance was in the Legends comic Dark Empire. Cloakshapes, kind of like Z-95s, predate the Clone Wars. They are common and modified heavily by mercenaries, pirates, and bounty hunters that use them. Their design is simple but recognizable. I also have a full animated presentation of this fighter. Look for that on my channel as well. The YT-2000 Freighter. The YT-2000 Freighter, or the Otana, is first seen in the game X-Wing Alliance, and the pride of the smuggler Azamine family. It follows the tradition of the YT-1300 freighter, such as the Millennium Falcon. Most have special modifications, such as weapons and hidden compartments for smuggling things like medical supplies to the rebels. Now onto some capital ships. The Bulwark Battlecruiser. I first saw this ship in my youth when I played the game Star Wars Rebellion. There are smaller versions of the Bulwark that were used by the Confederation of Independent Systems during the Clone Wars, but this version is the Rebellion or New Republic's answer to the Super Star Destroyers. At least in the game, it can match the Super Star Destroyer in firepower and fighter complement. A gigantic technological goldfish that could chuck barrages of turbolaser destruction on its opponents. Later literature concerning the size of the Bulwark portrays this as much smaller, more like a Star Destroyer size, which contradicts the version in the game. I would prefer this to be the Behemoth, perhaps like the Lucrehulk battleships used by the Trade Federation. It may be a massive converted freighter. However, it did little good to build these in the original game, because the rumors about its hyperspace navigation computers turned out to be true. After being sent into hyperspace, it's liable to suddenly get lost and go missing. The Eclipse Super Star Destroyer. The massive Eclipse Star Destroyer is perhaps the most popular non-canon capital ship among Star Wars fans. This Super Star Destroyer is black, scary, and powerful. There is some conflicting information about the size of this ship, but it has a small version of the Death Star super laser, not quite powerful enough to destroy a planet, but it could crack the crust of most planets, which would turn the planet's surface into molten slag. This was the Resurrected Emperor's flagship in the Legends comic Dark Empire. The Rebel Assault Frigate. The Rebels needed a capital ship that could outmaneuver Imperial capital ships while still packing a powerful punch. They took the old Dreadnaughts and modified them for speed, which resulted in the assault cruiser, an extremely common supplement to rebel fleets. Assault cruisers fought alongside Nebulon B frigates and supported Mon Calamari cruisers. In recent years, they have not appeared as much in Star Wars games, books, and comics, but in Star Wars Legends they were mentioned and used at least as much as Mon Calamari cruisers. The Viscount Star Defender. The Viscount is built when the Mon Calamari are no longer pulling any punches and unleash their full shipbuilding potential. The result is a Star Dreadnaught that can outfight almost any other ship in the Star Wars universe. This legend ship appears in the Yuuzhan Vong War to counter the biological terrors of the galactic invaders. It is sometimes portrayed in many Star Wars game mods, where it can easily take on an Executor-class Superstar Destroyer. The Dreadnaught-class Heavy Cruiser. I save what I believe to be the best for last. Yes, the most powerful starships often get the limelight, but going for story and character is far more satisfying for some sophisticated geeks. I mean, ship connoisseurs. The Dreadnaught-class Heavy Cruiser is a true classic. This is a heavy cruiser smaller than an Imperial Star Destroyer, and a bit smaller than the Venator-class Star Destroyers used in the Clone Wars. This ship design predates the Clone Wars. By the time of the Galactic Empire, it's probably the most common capital ship in the Star Wars galaxy. Very much like the old designs such as the Cloakshape, these ships were often heavily modified. The crew requirements were excessive. This is eventually remedied with something called a slave circuitry system, increasing the automation and reducing crew requirements. The Republic, before the outbreak of the Clone Wars, never officially had a navy, but the Dark Force of at least 200 of these dreadnoughts was available. The Dark Force was lost for mysterious reasons in hyperspace, but eventually was rediscovered as portrayed in the Thrawn trilogy novels. Thrawn gets them, and as you can imagine utilizes them to bring the New Republic to the edge of defeat. Dreadnoughts were tough, well-armed, but not particularly fast. By the time of the Galactic Empire, the Imperial Navy maintains and uses many of these heavy cruisers to support the larger Star Destroyers. The rebels use them as well and convert many to some assault frigates. Local governments, and most certainly pirates or mercenaries, used them heavily. I love the Dreadnoughts because they're the perfect old ships to help develop an immersive Star Wars story, and I hope that we will see them on screen someday. There are many versions and portrayals of Dreadnoughts in media. My current work in progress for a future video is one of these Dreadnoughts, heavily utilized by a pirate group that Thrawn is tracking. Be sure to subscribe to be notified when that video comes out. Thank you so much for watching, Space Friends. I'm sure many of you have your own favorite non-canon ships that aren't covered here. I look forward to hearing about them in the comments. Until next time, and keep evolving.